RWBY Volume 5. Whoa, what a volume. It was a really great volume, honestly, but that doesn't make it a perfect volume. Volume 3 was a really fantastic volume, but it clearly wasn't perfect. No volume in RWBY or season and show or movie numbers is ever really perfect. There was always flaws. In this one, Volume 5 of RWBY had its fair share of flaws, so today we are discussing the top 5 worst things that happened in RWBY Volume 5. These are things that I found didn't make very much either sense, or they were clearly not true, things that personally rubbed me the wrong way, or just I didn't see any point in being in this volume for whatever reasons, which I will explain when I get to the topics in question. So with that being said, let's get into this. The top 5 worst things in Volume 5 of RWBY. Kicking off on the number 5 spot, we have unnecessary lines in dialogue. This is very nitpicky, which is why it's number 5. But these lines just either don't make any sense, really, or they're just clearly not true, or it's very repetitive of stuff we've already known, with no new, really atmospheric things to amp up the pressure. So, for example, I'm going to give you 3 examples. The line when Blake was confronting Adam of, now he can know what it's like to run away, or whatever the case may be. You know, the scene where Adam took off from Blake and Son. So, my problem with this line is that there is a very key difference in what Blake was running from and why Adam was running. Adam was running for a strategic advantage in a combat setting. Okay? There was nothing cowardly about that. It was a solid strategy. Even though I think Adam can easily take on Blake and Son both at the same time, it was a combat strategy. You were running away from your personal problems. There was a big difference there, Blake. A very big difference there, Blake. It is so big. That was not a sick burn like so many people made it out to be. It was a very unnecessary line, and a line that made no sense because there was no relation with the 2 types of running. They were very different forms of running away. There was no relation to them. There was no burn about it. So stop hyping that line up, people. The other line being from Ozpin. He said everybody has a choice. Not really. Oscar sure as hell didn't have a choice when you took over his body. So you kind of forced him along this ride, of going against Salem and her followers. He didn't have a choice. The maidens sure as hell don't have a choice. Sure, Cinder wanted to be a raven, a maiden. Amber we don't really know anything about, so we can't really comment on her. Sure, Raven may have wanted to be a maiden too, but what happens to the maidens that we don't know anything about, huh? We don't know, if they want to be in this war against Salem. We don't know what they want. The maidens are not your tools, Ozpin. They don't have a choice. So those lines are bullshit. Not everybody has a choice, and you can even argue that the students of all the academies don't really have a choice because you are using them to your own ends, in your own way, by manipulating the purposes of the schools. Not to say it's a complete lie, but you are misleading these people into what they are signing up for. Because if Salem goes on a rampage throughout Remnant, these students are going to get caught up in it. You are using them, and they don't really have a choice. They have to fight now. So that line was very out there for me. I do not agree with Ozpin's sentiment at all whatsoever. The second problem I have with Volume 5 was the poor, and I mean the poor use of probably the potential interesting characters that were Leonardo Lionheart and Vernal. They were used horribly. I was interested in Leo and Vernal for various reasons, but those reasons weren't explored into. it was so devoid of purpose, their characters. I mean, Leo, sure, you could say he wasn't technically useless because he provided Cinder and her crew the advantage that got them into the Vital Festival and into Beacon in general, but still, you know, in this volume where we were introduced to him and we saw him just being a cowardly person, we didn't get to know why he was cowardly, why he was like this. What did Salem do to him, or someone he cares about, whatever the circumstance may be, that made Leo so fearful of Salem? What did she do? What was she hanging over his head? Who did she hurt? Who did she hold captive? We don't know these things. We don't know why he was so fearful of her. And if they had explored that, I might have felt more Leo was a more compelling character and a more reasonable character than what was presented to us. On top of that, since Salem has not given us a reason to fear her, she has not demonstrating her powers to us. So she's still a character we should not really, you know, categorize as this fearful character. I mean, you can, because she is the main antagonist, but she has not demonstrated those powers herself yet, which does not further, you know, make her case any better. If we had been shown what she did to Leo to make him so fearful, then we would probably have a reason to fear Salem. Right now, we don't fear Salem. We fear her minions. So again, it kind of delves into Salem too, as well as Leo, that Salem has not given us a reason to fear her, and in doing so, Leo was a very a poor character in this volume. And let's get into Vernal, because Vernal, man, she was very interesting to me. Why was she so loyal to Raven? What did Raven do for her that made her so loyal? And I assume Vernal knew about the whole Spring Maiden deal, so why did she put on this act with Raven that Vernal was the Spring Maiden and it wasn't actually Raven? Why? You know, because at the end of the volume, we realize that, holy shit, Vernal isn't the Spring Maiden, Raven is. So what made Vernal go along with this plan of putting Vernal in the position that she is the Spring Maiden, when in reality it's actually Raven? Why is she so loyal to Raven? And when the scenes popped up with her and Weiss in it, she clearly has something against either the Schnees or at the very least rich people or people who are high in society. So what is her deal there? Why does she have it out against Weiss and all these high profile people, you know? Like, what's going on? We just don't know these things, and therefore, while I was interested in her character, she wasn't necessarily interesting, because these things were not explored. They weren't talked about. And that was poor use of both Leo and Vernal. We just didn't know why they were who they were, why they were doing what they were doing, which just really bugged me. And, you know, think about it now, just I don't understand why Rooster Teeth did not delve into these characters, because now they are both dead. Vernal was killed and Leo was killed, so there was no way we were going to know the truth now. Or if we do, it is very unlikely. The third thing that really, you know, bugged me in Volume 5 was the butchering of two characters. Adam Torres and, I'm going to get so much hate for this next character, Yang Xiaolong. That's right, they were two horrible characters in this volume. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's get into Yang first, because, well, I ripped on her enough when I was actually reacting to the show. So I just want to get her out of the way, because I have had enough of Yang and her bullshit. Let's start with the most obvious thing that I've ripped on her for. And that is, she has still not learned her, you know, lesson from Volume 3 in the slightest. Yang, your arm, this thing, right here, it's gone. Adam cut it off. The biggest problem I have with Yang is that she still does not control her anger. The very thing that resulted in this going bye-bye. She has not learned to control her anger or her emotions in any way, which pissed me off so much. For example, when she was confronted by the dude played by Clifford Chapman in the very first episode of Volume 5. That was the immediate red flag for me that she hasn't changed. She has not changed a bit. She punched him when, you know, he did have it coming to him, but still, you could have ignored him. You could have just pushed him off of you. But no, you had to go and be the quote-unquote badass that you are, and, you know, just square up and sock him and turning him into a damn bouncy ball. On top of that, when she fought the bandits, I don't even want to get into that actually, because that pissed me off so much. But even more than that, the first conversation she had with Raven, she lost her temper so quick with Raven. Yang, wasn't one of your primary goals in life to learn more about Raven? Right? Wasn't that one of your primary goals? To understand why Raven left? To, you know, calmingly talk these things out so that you get every detail you can possibly get, so you can learn the damn truth? You did not keep your cool. You got pissy and you got angry so quickly. That is not showing that you have learned from your mistakes in Volume 3. Come on, girl. On top of that, you could well, not on top of that, but you could argue that it was her mom. She's a very shit mom, Raven, that being. And she kind of had it coming. You know, Raven, Yang was justified in her outburst. No, she was not. That just further proof that she didn't take what Taya said seriously. Control your feelings. Control your emotions. Keep a level head. You did not do that, Yang. Wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, please. I want to be on your side, but you are not giving me any room here to do just that. Now let's go on to the other thing about Yang, and that is, why did she blame Blake for her own insecurities? She blamed Blake so much in this volume for leaving. And that was her projecting her own feelings towards her feeling helpless and, you know, helpless and hopeless in all of this. Blake had nothing to do with that, Yang. She had nothing to do with you getting your arm ripped off or cut off by Adam. She had nothing to do with running away, didn't do anything to harm you in any way, shape, or form. Did it go against what Blake said when she said, I will come to you guys for advice? Yes, it did. But she was proven wrong that letting her walls down was the wrong move. Because the very thing that happened, as explained by Weiss, happened to Blake. The entire reason she put up walls happened. Yang, understand that Blake had her own shit to deal with. Stop projecting your own insecurities onto Blake. It's not helping your case anymore. It was selfish, and it was so childish. Stop it. Okay, now let's get on to Adam, because I'm done talking about Yang. The reason why I have a problem with Adam in this volume was not Volume 2, not Chapter 2. I think Chapter 2 was a brilliant episode for Adam, but it was Chapter 5 and every other scene afterwards. He became such a man-child. Rooster Teeth. Do you remember Volume 3? Do you remember when he was cool, calm, and collected, and was cruel? Do you remember how he did not complain about complain about Blake, and how she abandoned him? That's the Adam we want. We want the hateable yet interesting character that is Adam. We want that villainous guy. We don't want this big man-child that you have turned him into. The appeal of Adam for the people that are, you know, interested in him, is that he is a hateable character, he is good at being a bad guy, and that he is a mystery, that we don't know anything about him. You have turned him into a man-child. Stop. Stop it. It's like he's an ex-boyfriend, you know, complaining that his girlfriend left him. It's ridiculous. Anyways, that's my biggest complaint with Adam. Okay, let's get into my number 2 now. The next thing Volume 5 did wrong for me was Salem. Where was she this volume? Do you remember? I don't. I remember her showing up for like, what, 3-4 minutes in chapter 2, and then like for a couple seconds in chapter 14. Where was she this volume? The lack of presence of Salem honestly annoyed me. Because here's the thing. I get it. Cinder was the one who did the deed of killing Pyrrha. Emerald of Mercury helped her and assisted her. But Salem's the one manipulating them, controlling them, telling them what to do. She's the main antagonist. Where was she this volume? Where was she? We did not get anything of her. Oh my god. It annoyed me so much that there was no presence from Salem whatsoever. And that's pretty the long and short of it. There was barely any Salem in this volume. One of the things I liked about Volume 4 was that we had like good chunks of screen time for Salem. Getting to know Salem. Understanding how she does things. Oh my god. Where was that in this volume? There was no substance for Salem in this volume. And it annoyed me. Oh my god. She is the main antagonist. Focus on the main antagonist. Come on. Rooster Teeth, I love you and what you're doing. But, come on. And the final thing that rubbed me the wrong way, that I hated in Volume 5, was how anticlimactic everything was. Do you remember the opening song animation? Do you remember that? How we got a glimpse that we might have an Emerald versus Mercury rematch. Do you remember that? Yeah, we did not get that. What we got was oh my god. Oh my god, it was laughable. Sorry, Rooster Teeth, but that was a poor excuse. On top of that, the amount of fights that were teased. For instance, Emerald of Mercury versus Raven's Bandit Tribes at, I believe, the end of Chapter 8. We did not get that fight. Do you remember Gira versus the two brothers? Yeah, barely got anything out of that. The Emerald, the Mercury and Yang tease, didn't get anything out of that. The White Fang invasion, oh my god, that was a huge, and I mean a huge disappointment and letdown. There's these two guys, maybe you heard of them. They're called Semblance of Sanity. Love them. Love their reactions. Love their afterthoughts. Awesome dudes, honestly. But they said something that I took so wrong. I honestly don't know how they came to this conclusion in that moment. They said the fight between, the interaction between Blake and Adam and Sun near the end of Volume 5 was anticlimactic in a good way, and lackluster in a good way. There was nothing good about that. There was nothing good about that at all whatsoever. Adam killed Sienna. He has been hyped up since the original Black trailer. And then add in the fact that Rooster Teeth made him into a man-child. That was anticlimactic as all manners of hell, and there is no justification to it. That's just how it is. It was terrible and poorly executed. Remember the whole Nora and Ren versus Hazel scene? Yeah, we got barely anything out of that. It was terrible how they handled that. And oh my god, it was just, they hyped so many fights up, hyped so many scenarios up for it to be entirely lackluster and anticlimactic in the most disappointing way possible. Are you serious, Rooster Teeth? There was a reason why Volume 3 is hailed as the best volume. It is because the hype, the fights that were teased and whatnot, they paid off. This did not pay off in the slightest. The only decent fights in this volume was Raven versus Cinder, Blake versus Ilya, and Yang versus the Bandit, just for shits and giggles and because it was well choreographed. But Blake and Ilya and Raven and Cinder were the main, primary great fights in this volume that paid off in the end. Everything else, all the scenarios, all the fights that were hyped up, whoop, no way. They were terrible. How it was handled at the end of the day, there was no justification for it. It was terrible. So those are the 5 worst things in Volume 5 for me personally. If you disagree with me, go in those comments and, do what you do. Tell me I'm wrong or whatever you like, But those, to me, were the personal letdowns of this volume. There was good things. Don't get me wrong. There were good things, which I will make a video for very soon. But still, there were bad things too. Rooster Teeth, I love you. I love what you do. I do. I honestly do. Which is why I'm doing this. To point out your flaws so that when you make the next volume, you can approve, That's what you do. You critique and then you hope that, the creators will fix on their errors. So that's what I did. I critiqued, I thought it all over, and that's how I felt, Sorry there was portions of this where it was very clear I was angry. There were just certain things that really just grind my gears, There are very, very, very specific things that grind my gears. So sorry if I seem a bit triggered at some moments or a bit offended or angered at some portions of this video. My apologies, but I just love this series. I am passionate about it, and I want to be on so many people's sides, but it makes it so hard when they do so poorly of a job to convey, why you should be on this person's side or, I don't know. This is very difficult to be on someone's side when you don't put the time and effort to give the audience a reason to be on a person's side, I guess. I don't know. I'm terrible at explaining things. My apologies, okay? I am not the best at conveying messages and words, but 'tis what it is. Like I said, I'm going to be making a top 5 best things for RWBY Volume 5 very soon. That'll be up in about a week after this is uploaded, probably, most likely. But yeah, with that being said, you guys, if you like this video, rated 1 through 10, like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that fun crap. And as always, this is your boy, Nick Brolin, out with the Yank.